I'm Emilie Lunt, and I believe with my whole heart and soul that our homes are places where we can seek and love the truth, celebrate beauty, and learn good things every single day. That's why I'm educating my kids at home, and I know you can do it too. Welcome to Heart and Soul Homeschool. Well, I'm so thrilled to have a woman whose ministry and work is a blessing and really just a lifeline to my family every week as we homeschool our kiddos. Letricia Osgood, thank you so much for being here.
Well, first of all, Emilie, thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to come and talk about homeschooling.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this for months, and it's finally worked out. So I'm really happy that we're finally getting to chat. And I know that your wisdom and experience are going to really encourage everyone who listens. So before we dive in here and talk about what you do, you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself, maybe your family, and then just briefly about Discovery Homeschool Academy, and then we'll get into the details later.
Absolutely. Well, I grew up in Kansas City, and then I went to Baylor University and got my education degree with a specialization in reading, and then went on to get my master's degree in education as well. And then I taught in the public school for 5 years. Okay. So that was really insightful and helpful to see the pros and cons. Definitely some benefits there. I think it might be a little different now than it was back then, but there were some good things about it for sure. I started a tutoring program after school that was a blessing, kind of eased into being responsible for a bunch of different teachers and leading kids and helping that need. And so that was kind of a taste of organizing and managing that. So that was neat. And then I stopped teaching and had my first child. At the same time, I started Discovery Homeschool Academy in the year 2000. And then I went on to have 4 more kids that I homeschooled.
Okay, so you have experience in lots of different realms. That it's really neat as I hear you talk about that, because I didn't know a whole lot about you. And just listening, it's amazing how God prepares us through life for what he needs us to do. And so all of that experience is flowing beautifully into what you're doing now. So when you started homeschooling, you said it was 2000. So I would assume that 24 years ago, things looked pretty different. What was it like then?
So actually, when I started DHA, I had my first baby was an infant. Wow. And I don't know if I would have thought of homeschooling, to be fair, because I wasn't homeschooled myself. However, those years that my child was growing and getting a little older, I watched and observed and got to know all these homeschooling families and convinced me it was an incredible option. And so I chose that for myself. By the time he was, 4 or 5, I was ready to do the same with him. So
I hear that a lot, actually, that it kind of takes that, you got to see it to really be able to catch the vision. And so I think that's exciting, because more and more people are doing it, that more and more people will have the opportunity to see, because it really is a beautiful way to educate children.
The other thing I noticed even just in those years of early on was how amazing the kids are. Now, kids are kids.
Right. They're always going to.
But with that said, we had very little discipline issues. And all these years later, I really think it's because they have so much family support and time with family and immediate guidance and teachable moments, that they're just really good kids. And so it was neat to see that. And their bond with the parents too.
Yeah, that we find that too. And I actually have heard Sam Sorbo talk about, I don't know if you're familiar with Sam, but she tells it like it is. And she says that a lot of times, things that we would let slide as parents when we just see them for an hour and a half or 2 hours a day, things that you can tolerate when you're with them all day, you have to take care of those things. And so I see that in our own home, that you really can't let a lot slide. And so I think the discipline and the training and the relationships really do happen, and that's a great part of homeschooling. So coming up on an exciting milestone year for Discovery Homeschool Academy, 25 years. And so when you had the idea to start DHA, was it kind of from scratch, or had you seen something else like it that you wanted to model after?
That's a good question. So actually my best friend worked at a church, and a pastor used to meet with another pastor way over in the kind of the western side of Kansas, that they had a homeschool program, and over at this location on the east side in the Missouri, there wasn't any options at that time. And so he's like, we should make that available, but didn't know anything about homeschooling, didn't have anybody. So she mentioned my name. I came in and I interviewed, and they're like, great, you're hired, now start it. So I did have to start it from scratch, but it wasn't my initial idea to do it. Started with 35 kids my first year, and about 5 teachers. Had a great first year, and it grew every single year after that.
And so brag a little bit. It's grown a lot. What do we
grown a
have now?
little bit.
Yeah, what do we have now?
We have over 1,300 students now.
Which is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
fun.
I do want to say, I said at the beginning that your work blesses my family every week. And I mean that because, we started homeschooling, it was 2021. And so kind of coming out of COVID, and it was everyone, it seemed like, thought they were homeschoolers at the time.
Yes.
And so we were kind of figuring out how to navigate still the social situations and how to get involved in things. And my daughter is extremely social, and I am extremely not social. And at that time I had a 2-year-old. And so we visited several co-ops and kind of traditional models like that. And I was feeling so overwhelmed because I thought, how can I spend all day with a 2-year-old trying to teach, plus just, the overwhelming, feeling of wanting to do so well for my daughter and not take her out of social situations, that kind of thing. And so we do the enrichment program. You have 2 programs. So let's talk about enrichment first, just because that's what I'm familiar with. But I was telling you before we started recording, we love it because it's kind of the sweet parts of school that every parent, the things that you remember in school and that every parent would want their kids not to miss out on. So we do little class parties at Valentine's Day and around Thanksgiving. They get their school pictures taken in the yearbook. They get to have field day programs, art shows, all of the good stuff. And so talk about the enrichment program and how that kind of came about.
Yes. And I designed it with that in mind because I had taught in public school. There were some great things, some benefits, some great things. So I just thought, let's take the good from it and leave out the bad.
Yes.
And so all those good memories that you either enjoyed, like you said, as a child, or when I was teaching, I tried really hard to incorporate those things. At the beginning, it was a little hit and miss on which classes would work well in a classroom setting of homeschoolers coming together. Because I was a reading specialist, I thought it'd be fun to have a reading class. Well, you got all different levels, and being 1 day a week, it didn't lend itself quite as good. But then we learned, quickly that music would be great because it's hard to do a whole choir at home with just your siblings.
Yes.
And not every parent or every person is a master of skills in every area. You may have a passion for a lot of them, but you either don't have that experience or even the time to prepare. So like STEM, we do a lot of experiments and building things. That takes a lot of supplies and preparation. And so
the messes.
that's our goal, is to do all the messy, busy, all the things that parents have good intentions, but to designed it with that in mind. Is there are benefits of everything, of public school, Christian school full-time, and homeschooling. There's pros and cons to all of it, but we just wanted to say, what was the sweetest things that we could do in our drop-off program? You're going to already have the sweetness of one-on-one with mom at home, but when you're in a classroom setting, there's some benefits that you miss out if you're not doing that. And so working in partners and in small groups and presenting things, and it could be at a kindergarten level, you hold up your picture and you talk about your picture, but you're working through your nerves, preparing them for life skills in the college or workspace eventually. So
it all adds
kind of
up, doesn't it? Kind of layers on. And I guess we should say, so in their enrichment program, you do PE class, which is a favorite, and again, something kind of hard to replicate at home.
Exactly.
It's hard to play volleyball with 2 kids. And then art, music, STEM, where they do experiments and that sort of thing, Spanish, and social studies.
Yes.
And so what I love about it is none of it follows our curriculum. It truly is just enriching. And so we don't necessarily even know, and to be honest, I don't even necessarily care the topics that the teachers choose, because they're always fun and they are always enriching, and they're honestly things that I wouldn't think of doing. And so it's just so nice for our kids to have the opportunity to go for a day, be around other Christian mentors and models who can teach them in a way that we can't, and everybody kind of gets just that different experience.
Right.
Mom gets a day to kind of regroup and do the things that free me up to be more free to teach the rest of the week, and then the kids just come back so happy and having had a great day. So that's the enrichment program. There's another part to Discovery Homeschool Academy that I'm not so familiar, so I'm excited to learn about it. It's the academic program. So tell us about that.
And so we did the enrichment program for years, and then I finally had enough adults or moms approach me saying, hey, why can't you design something that would help us with this piece? So we actually did design that and got it up and running for several years before COVID hit, which was really a blessing in disguise that I didn't know, because we were ready when more people had that need. So that's going to focus on your core subjects, your math and reading and science and all those subjects, where we take certified teachers. They're going to introduce the concept. They're going to work with the students. Again, all those benefits of a classroom setting. And for parents who aren't confident in homeschooling, or just don't have the time to dedicate to the preparation and overseeing that. And then our teachers then design, they kind of share what they did in class 2 days a week, and then they say, here is what would be great if you can accomplish once you're at home, so that you're staying on task and fulfilling the requirements for that grade level. With that said, the beautiful thing about homeschooling at home is you can adjust it to your learner, and if you need to add something or go slower, you can. You don't have to go with a whole room of kids. You can adjust it, and so it's perfect.
So it's truly the hybrid model, but maybe not as formal as what a true hybrid school would be. So it's 2 days a week and then 3 days at home. And so one big question with the hybrid model that I hear people asking is, who's responsible for keeping track of the records and grades? In your program, is that the parents?
It is the parents.
And so it's a true homeschool program, because I know a lot of schools will keep the records, and so people will say, well, you're not really homeschooling.
They are still responsible for all of that, and they can adjust it as they need to. We are there truly to support them, encourage them, provide all the professional leadership that we can, and the kids are more motivated to do schoolwork because they know when they get back, their friends are all going to have that schoolwork done, or they're going to share, work on a group project, or share their research project. And so there's a built-in motivation piece that helps the mom too.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we all need that little extra motivation. Let's be honest. So who do you find is kind of the target demographic that really works well for?
It's adjusting. I mean, I think both my programs were more people who always knew they were going to homeschool their whole lives. Post-COVID, we still have them, but we have added a whole new level of families who, for a lot of different reasons, are seeing that public school is not a great option for them anymore, but they are all of a sudden like, what do we do? Because we hadn't prepared or planned for anything other than that. And so, again, they may be working part-time, or they may not have the confidence, or they know that their kid is very social and would do better majority of the time with their friendships. We designed the program where you could do one program or the other, or do both. So if they did both programs, they would be with us 3 days and then have 2 days at home with mom. But it's up to the needs of the kids, finances, all those things. But it's a great financial option compared to a full-time Christian school too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Just trying to make options for families.
For sure. And as you're talking, I was just thinking, we've had a couple of guests recently who are full-time work-from-home moms, and they utilize the enrichment program because that's what's available at our location. But I think this academic program also would be so wonderful for moms who are working from home also, because it just adds that extra support and social interaction. So when you select curriculum for the academic program, I know you have some things that are really important to you about that. Talk about that and how you choose what to use.
The main thing is just that it's, a worldview, godly worldview. It's Christian. And so although we don't have a theology class, it is very biblical based and Christian, which is awesome. I mean, the teachers that come in, again, they're high quality. I feel like myself and my assistant director both have degrees in education, and I think that's important. That we can give encouragement, leadership, guidance to our teachers to keep that flowing, to make sure it's the highest quality available or whatever. But they are all on the same curriculum. They work together in class and at home. We've brought on a curriculum specialist now that can truly put her eyes on the changing needs, and if we need to add and supplement some different things. The other benefit, though, is anybody can take a curriculum, but our specialized teachers can supplement and add their things. I know when I taught, it was the same thing. I had some just tips and tricks and games and things that you could supplement to bring it to life or better understanding if you see they just were still not quite getting it. So
yeah, which I think is really fun. And I know that the moms and dads who send their kids appreciate that, because everyone just needs a little bit of extra help or just a little bit of inspiration to make that thing click sometimes. And I think sometimes when that sole responsibility rests on you as a mom, that can feel overwhelming. And so just having a little help is really good. So you mentioned it briefly that families are coming to homeschooling for lots of reasons, and we find that all the time. We definitely have our motivations. My husband and I do. We have, a million. You'll talk to 100 homeschool families, and they'll all have a little bit different reason for doing what they're doing. But as people are just kind of flooding out of the public schools, have you seen what people are looking for and what they need change over the years after 25 years of doing this?
I could tell you this, that we could see the floodgates coming. Like we saw it coming, you could hear it.
Even before COVID, you could kind of sense that?
It definitely, we had always grown in numbers. So we were at a great number of students prior to COVID. However, once COVID happened, and you could hear all the radio talk shows and TVs and different people saying, get your kids out of public school. I mean, there was just a lot of concern.
A lot was
out there.
laid bare during that time. We saw a lot, we
A
heard
lot
a
more
lot.
than people realized what was happening or being taught. And so we could see that there had the potential that more people might be choosing the options, other options. So we met as a staff, and we just said, you know what? It's really imperative that we do not waver on our Christian values, on our core values, on those kind of things. Like, we're not going to change to meet needs in that way. But we welcome them, knowing that they're coming into our program, and what you're going to receive. You're going to have Christian education, and here's what we're going to be like. But we weren't going to change for the incoming, if that makes sense.
It does, and I can say as a mom that I really appreciate that. And we didn't talk about talking about this ahead of time, so surprise. But you have a really great family handbook that you send out to prospective families, and it's very thorough. I mean, everything from, here's what we believe about the Bible, all the way to here's what we believe about gender, all of these things that who would have thought that we had to lay these things out, but you do. And as a mom, and my husband also, we just really appreciate that, because it's not that we don't want to welcome people who have different beliefs, but there has to be that standard. And
clear, if you're sending your children, this is what we provide. And
yes, and what you said, just like, we're not going to change. I think in this day and age, that's so important, don't you? That we maintain steadfast to the truth that we find in the Word, and that's really what you guys do.
Well, the heart behind this from day one, and it's still true, is it's just, my heart is to honor God in all of this. And I just pray that each kid and family that comes they either want or need to be there, and we're trying to be available for that. So we see the need, and we're trying to be available. And that's why I made the comment. I'm glad that we already kind of had our kinks worked out, and we knew what we were doing before a lot more people came. And now we're just needing to add more locations, but trying to stay solid in what we do and how we do it, and run it as well as we can.
It's really a great program. So, we appreciate, like I said before, the alternative to the traditional co-op model. What do you kind of see as the future of homeschool groups going forward?
Oh, that's a great question. I think you'll see a lot of everything, and there's a lot of different needs. So I think that's great when a lot of different people are providing different programs, because there are different needs. You'll see people reaching out and saying, we want secular. We don't even want a Christian program.
Right.
And that's fine, but it's probably not a good fit with us or some other ones. But I do think that it's awesome that people find something, because there's community and encouragement and support, both for the kids and the parents. And then out of that, I know in our program, the kids build friendships, and then they'll want to have park days and go to birthday parties, and they're building their little communities, and parents are bonding, and you need encouragement. It's not the easiest thing to homeschool your kids, but I do think it's honored and valued and well worth it. And I've watched family after family go through, graduate with homeschooling degrees, get amazing offers to colleges or work spaces. And so I've seen it. I've been in it long enough to see it's a successful, awesome thing. And especially when they love the Lord with all their heart and move forward in a way that makes their parents proud. So I encourage people to try to find something to be involved in, for sure. So.
Yeah, whatever that looks like. And like I said before, as someone who's not so social myself, this is perfect. But I have friends who, live for co-op day for themselves, because the social aspect for them. And so what you just said about find your thing. And that's why, we just kind of want to highlight all the different things that are possible.
There's a lot of different ones out there. So finding what fits for you. And ours is definitely designed to have, high quality and a drop-off program. We're just like a mini full-time Christian school is our goal, and just kind of partnering with parents is how we view it. So.
Yeah, and we feel that way being a part of it. So as we wrap up, if there's anybody who's listening that's kind of been seeing a need in their community, whether it looks like their program you run or a more traditional, whatever that might be, if they're seeing a need that needs to be filled within the homeschool community, what advice or encouragement would you offer them? Would you say, go ahead and jump in and do the thing?
I'd say pray. That is honestly the very first thing you want to do is just get God's guidance and what is best, whether it's something that you are just going to, God's going to pair you with another family that you come alongside. I know a lot of people that have just, 2 to 5 families get together in somebody's home, and that has worked well with them. So it really looks different everywhere. So whether it's just a pairing of that, whether there's already a, like you said, a co-op where parents are fully volunteer and participate in that, drop-off programs like we have, there's just a lot of options, but with God's guidance and seeking other people in different, there's a lot of homeschool associations that often in each state encourage them to reach out to their local association and figure out what groups already exist, or is there a need to start one? But they're a great resource. They know the homeschool laws per state, what you can, what you can't do, and all that kind of thing.
So kind of check and see, because someone might already may not have to start something. But you wouldn't tell people to shy away, after prayer and research.
It's been a blessing and it's sweet, but we have parents all the time reaching out with cards, or they'll stop and bless the teachers with lunch or coffee or different things just to say thank you, what a blessing you've been to us. And so it's been really a gift to watch how it's blessed families over the years, and it's been fun for our teachers to have a part-time job and have their passion and desire to work with kids in a Christian environment, even if it's just part-time. It's been a blessing for them to use the gifts and skills that they've been blessed with in the way that they want to, and not get bogged down with just testing and all those kind of things. They get to truly pour into them and even pray with the kids as they need to. So
I know that's been our experience. So we actually, I can't remember if I said this or not, but one of your locations is hosted at our home church, and so we're just so grateful to our pastor and our church family for hosting it, because that partnership is really sweet for our families, and it's also a great outreach to our community. We've got beautiful church facilities, a great gym, classroom space that was sitting empty most of the week, and so we're so grateful that our pastor was willing to host the Discovery Academy at our church. But we also, especially the first year, had lots of women in our church who were former teachers, who were really sweet teachers for our daughter, and they were just so delighted to get the opportunity to use their skills. And so I guess I bring that up because maybe there's a pastor listening who is thinking, I've got this amazing church, and how could it be used? And so they might be on the lookout for someone like you who's looking for a place, and then there might be grandmas or teachers who are retiring, or even just someone who has wonderful art skills or something like that they could offer to the homeschool community, that if we all started kind of thinking maybe a little bit out of the box, that we could come together in programs like this.
It's neat to be able to use a space that would otherwise be empty and fill it with kids who are learning to love the Lord and be educated and have so much fun learning that they don't even know they're learning.
They have no idea. Trust me, when my daughter comes in.
It's truly a blessing when churches partner with you. So
and I think that's a prayer that we can all have, just as the homeschool community grows and as the need for it grows.
I'm right there too, for sure. It's just, and you want it to be the right fit, for sure. And then I always try to say that I want to be a blessing to the church. And so that's our heart, to honor that and see as that we're a guest in the building and all those kind of things too. So.
And I think you are. So, well, hey, thanks for being here today. And we will link back to the website for Discovery Homeschool Academy, because even if people aren't, we're in the Kansas City area, but even if they're not, I think they could glean a lot of great learning from about what you do from that. And then anywhere else that we can connect with you, is the website the best way?
That's the best way. I mean, we have some Facebook and Instagram too, but go to the website first.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, and thanks to all of you for being here with me. And I hope you'll join me next week for the next episode of Heart and Soul Homeschool.
Heart and Soul Homeschool is a podcast presentation of the Herzog Foundation. The views and opinions expressed on the show are those of the host and guests, and not necessarily the views of the Herzog Foundation. Be sure to like and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode of Heart and Soul Homeschool.